Hey guys, so I have been reading of Jeremiah, and it's just that happens to be what I've been reading in my reading plan, in my Bible reading plan at this time. Um, and oh, hang on, let me let my dog out. He's whining. There you go, Finn. Um, so, you know, I don't know if you guys remember, but I had that vision of Netanyahu pulling up the statue of Nebuchadnezzar out of the ocean. And it's interesting that I happened to be reading in Jeremiah about the Babylonian captivity, and God used Nebuchadnezzar for his own plans and purposes to bring the people of Israel into captivity because they had forsaken the Lord and were just worshiping other gods and all of that. And they had false prophets in the land that were telling them, no, we're going to keep fighting back. They were under siege and everything, and they were like, no, we got to keep fighting back because we're going to continue to live here in Jerusalem. This is where the temple is. This is God's will for us, which normally would have been so if, except it wasn't God's will for them because they needed to be taught a lesson at the time. Okay, that it was his will to use Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to conquer them and bring them into captivity. And he actually told them, Jeremiah, to tell the king that if they would surrender and go over there and just go ahead and live and go by their rules, that he'd be okay. And eventually God says he'd bring them back into the land, but the ones that didn't listen and the king didn't listen, him and his family were killed. His sons were slaughtered before him, and he wouldn't listen to Jeremiah's words. He's listening to the false prophets. Well, a lot, when I'm getting to this point, and David Benjamin, I just went and listened to 2 of his videos just a little bit ago this morning, and it was so interesting that he happens to be talking about Babylon and that same kind of thing, and how a lot of the pushback that Christians are doing against this and just hollering and complaining and exposing and fighting back against hard all this stuff that's going on, do they consider that they might be fighting against God's will at this moment to bring about his will and purposes? And that he causes all things, good or bad, rulers, good or bad, to work in according to his will and purposes to bring about our good and his plan, what he has planned eventually. And just like Netanyahu pulling up Nebuchadnezzar, well, it seems like a bad thing. Yeah, it's a bad thing, except that it's part of God's will and it has to happen. And a lot of this pushback is dominionist minded theology. It comes from that. That we're supposed to have everything be perfect right now in the here and now, and everything's supposed to be hunky-dory and go well, and Christians are supposed to be in control and, have dominion over all these different areas. What do they call it? Like the 7 mountains theology, 7 mountains dominionism or something like that, and the NAR, New Apostolic Reformation movement. And those are the people that have been advising Trump, by the way. And the way I see it is realize God's in control and trust him. I mean, we don't got to be stupid. Be informed. Pay attention. Be wise. Be sober-minded. Be aware of what the enemy's doing, but also realize that when you're shouting and kicking and screaming, you might be shouting and kicking and screaming against God and his will and what he's doing. Get on board with him. Make sure that your zeal and your purposes are in line with God's zeal and his wisdom and his purposes at the moment. This isn't our life. This isn't our world. We're just strangers sojourning here. And God has a plan. It's in his Bible. Read it, I just want to put that out there. I'm going to link David's last 2 videos below as well. I thought it was really, some of his points were really good and really biblical. And you guys, if you haven't seen them, I think you'll be blessed by them. And I love y'all. Have a great day.